Okay, sorry guys, I've sent the invite many times. She's on my computer telling me she can't see the invite, but I'm inviting her. Jenny, we can see her. It says she's online. She can't see any of these invites. Oh!
Finally!
That's like 4 times I tried that.
I never got any request, and now I could send you a request, so yeah, fine.
I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what happened, but anyway, you're here. Awesome. Thank you. Can you move your camera down a little bit? You're like here.
I don't really think the connection is quite good now, so could you repeat your question?
Could you move your camera down a little bit?
This I could do. Wait.
Yeah. That we can do. Yes. Awesome. There we go. Not that far down.
That was not so easy.
Oh, in business.
Yeah, I'll try to hold it like this.
Well, hopefully we'll just crack on. Hopefully there won't be too much of a delay or anything. There's 23 people online, so thanks. Sorry everybody for a bit of technical issues there. Like Instagram really like us doing lives, but the platform's not very good for it. So yeah, we managed it in the end. We're here. So thank you so much for joining. We just had a call. You told me how grey and dark it is in Germany at the moment. Yeah, winter time.
Yeah, it's really sad at the moment. So we have maybe 2 hours of sun if we are lucky, but the rest of the day is rain and storm. It has been like this for 2 weeks now, maybe 3. I don't remember. It's probably 3 weeks like this now. So I miss the sun.
All right. Well, we're not going to talk about the weather because that's a very British thing to do, and you're German. So I think Germans talk about the weather just as much. Right. I want to crack on with some of these questions. We've had a load of them sent in. Some of them are really interesting. I don't know if you know this first person, Anne Wuchold. Wuchold, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. So Anne has asked some questions. She's asking the classic question about if you're using sequential or constant pressure.
I do both. Surprise.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, of course, as long as my cheeks are super full, it's just easy to go with constant pressure. But since I need a lot of pressure to open my eustachian tubes, it gets too tiring if I have to keep them open all the way to the bottom. So, I don't know, probably somewhere around 60-ish, 65-ish, I start moving into sequential.
Okay. So sequential basically to give yourself a break, yeah?
Yeah, it's more relaxing for me. I tried doing it differently to go with constant pressure to the bottom. I can do that, but yeah, my relaxation is much better if at some point I change to sequential. So I guess it's just a personal preference to be more lazy towards the bottom, because there I don't have to equalize so often anyway. So yeah, it gives me more time.
Did you ever, when you're at depth, like test how different the pressure gradient is, like stop equalizing?
Well, if you mean by test doing real scientific work, no. But of course in dives I test different things. So yeah. I tested doing deep dives on constant pressure. I tested doing them on sequential. I tested mixing both. And I stick to the mix.
Yeah. I once stopped equalizing at around 90, 95 just to see what would happen, and nothing happens. It's crazy. Like you go so far without needing to equalize. And when it does close up, it doesn't close up fast. It closes up really super slow.
Yeah.
So it's amazing when you experience that pressure gradient dropping off. It's really
For sure. I usually have my depth alarm for the turn around 8 to 10 meters before the turn.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I have my depth alarm for the turn, I know I have, well, maximum one more equalization and I'm there. So it's quite nice.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So, like, I think for anyone watching, sequential and constant, they have their uses. You have to, there's not like one equalization technique that will work for everybody. So you said that you need quite a lot of pressure for your ears. So did you know, you've obviously measured it on an Uber tool. Yeah. Well, what are you needing to open those ears?
The left ear needs around 20, 25, and the right ear around 35, 40.
Okay. I wouldn't say that's not a great deal of pressure from what I see from students and stuff, but it is, you know, it's up. Anyone around 20, certainly 20 and under, has got really beautifully big eustachian tubes. That's really cool.
But with students, you don't know if they are not closing their soft pellet sometimes instead. So I wouldn't trust the students.
Yeah. But I would say for anyone sort of interested in sort of finding what EQ pattern works for them, if you can get hold of an Uber project tool that will connect to your phone and measure your pressure, even just to try once, then, you know, anyone sort of 30s into 40s or above, you're probably going to want to be learning sequential a little bit more, maybe using the tongue, you know, just to generate a bit more pressure. If you're equalizing at 20 or below, 20 pascals or below, then constant pressure can work really beautifully. But it is a long time to maintain that control, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, in the end, you have to go out there and find out for yourself what works. Maybe shifting from constant to sequential is too much change in one dive, so you prefer sticking to one. You know, there's never a one-size-fits-all approach in freediving, in nothing. Yeah, not in technique, not in equalization, not in nutrition. So people always want this magic powder. It just doesn't exist. Sorry.
Yeah, I've been looking for the magic powder for a long time. It's not there. It's just hard.
We all are.
Yeah, we all are. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. And Anne actually sent in a few questions. So she's asking also what your favourite dry exercises are. I mean, obviously for EQ. So is dry training something you do a lot of? Because you do spend extended periods away from depth, don't you?
Usually it's 7 to 8 months that I don't go to depth. So of course I'm doing dry exercises, so I don't lose my abilities to equalize. And it's quite important if you live far away from the ocean like I do. Yeah. So their favorite dry exercise? I don't think so. I think the important part is to change the dry exercises once in a while, because if you are a one-trick pony, then that's it. So you should really be able to master all of the exercises and all of the different versions, using the UBA tool and AutoVent or whatever device you want to use. Change the exercise, because every feeling, every sensory input you can get will help you understand it a bit more. Yeah. And I'm still surprised that every year I have a new sensation or a new control about something that I didn't really realize before. So it's step by step, and you should never stop doing your exercises, because every year you will discover something new. Yeah.
I think the first step is always increasing someone's awareness. When I start working with students, it's like if they don't have awareness, they can't tell me what's happening, and then I can't help them. When someone, it's the most frustrating thing as an instructor when someone comes up after a dive and you know it didn't go right, and you say, how is that? What happened? And they say, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the funniest. You know, they do I don't know, 1.5 minute, 2 minute, 2.5 minute dive, and you ask them, so what happened? And they're like, yeah, it was a nice dive. And you're like, and what else? Yeah, nothing. So what are you doing? Like, is it a training? In the training, you should focus and know what's happening. I'm sometimes really surprised. People just go off into this world. Of course, it's nice to relax, and it's nice to have a super relaxed dive in which you let everything go. But that's not training then, you know. Training means you are focused on what you're doing and you're improving some aspects. So yeah, I'm always surprised when I see that happening.
Yeah, I completely agree with that mentality. Yeah. Okay, so that was favorite dry exercises. There kind of isn't really any favorite ones. They're all your favorite. All of them. Yeah, yeah. My favorite dry exercise would be regular. So it's not the exercise, it's the frequency. You've got to keep up with the work. Yeah, you definitely got to keep up with the work. I spent a long time, especially in my early days freediving, living in London and having months away from the ocean. So I was exactly the same. And yeah, you have to apply yourself. Consistency is what's going to win, definitely. So Anne is asking as well, favorite shallow water exercises. So maybe I'm sensing a theme here that perhaps Anne is living somewhere away from the ocean for a little while. So like, if you have shallow water and you want to work on your EQ, what kind of thing would you be doing?
Well, it depends on what the definition of shallow is. If it's a 180 pool, or at least you have some 20 meters. So if I have, let's say, more than 10 meters, I would really go for charging at the surface. It could be a complete mouthfill or just a T-charge or something like that, and try to take it as deep as possible. And that's always a good hint on how you develop on your equalization, if you make improvements, if you gain control, also if you gain relaxation, for example. So this is always a very good exercise. Yeah, and in a 180 pool, maybe the only thing you can do is hang from the side of the pool, head down, and start equalizing. I'm not sure if there's much you can do in a 180 pool. There should be some little bit of depth.
Yeah, those very shallow pools are a bit challenging.
Yeah.
I have done like RV work in those. I mean, it's not quite deep enough though. You have to go extreme RV. You have to like reverse pack and stuff. So it's not quite deep enough. But certainly things like charging you can work on. I like this idea of hanging off the side of the pool upside down. You can practice relaxing in a stressful position. You can practice charging. Even like if you are restricted by depth, you could be doing your dynamic training with a mouthful, you know, just to help train the glottis, get it woken up. So you just got to get very inventive.
Yeah. And maybe you can just work on your hands-free, for example. Yeah. The pressure in a 180 pool is already high enough to see if you can go hands-free and work on those skills, if that's your goal. This is something for sure you can do in a very shallow pool. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, so that's just kind of a two-sided question, isn't it? First of all, what's shallow water? So we're assuming Anne is in a city where there's no ocean, but if you do have ocean and you've got 10, 20 meters of water, I mean, you can practice, you can train almost everything, you know. 20 meters you can do a lot with, especially if you get into exhale dives and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I never recommend exhale dives for beginners. Because you should have some serious skills in breath holding before you go on exhale, and you should understand the safety issues connected to that. But once you're advanced and you have proper safety around, that can be a good training method as well.
Exhales are definitely not something to be just jumped into. You need to go through that with someone who knows what they're doing, and you'll get a lot more out of it anyway. But very silly way to injure yourself trying exhales for the first time. Okay, there's another part to Anne's question. She's asking, during a depth training period, are you in the gym? Are you training with weights, or do you taper off? Or this is quite a big question, probably.
Well, Depth season for me is around 5 months, and for sure I don't stop the gym training for 5 months. Usually in normal training periods, when there's no competition around the corner, I will do more or less normal gym training. But if there's a competition, like a world championship, or I want to do national record attempts, then I don't do any serious gym training. Some body weight exercises if I feel like it, but I just try to get enough rest before it.
Yeah, yeah. So well, let's flip it to the other side of the coin then. Like when you're not depth training, do you put a lot of emphasis on gym work and stuff?
Well, I myself, I do. But I think it always depends on where you come from with your strength. If you're already a very strong athlete and have a lot of muscle, then you can probably do a little bit less gym training. If you have been a couch potato all of your life, you may invest more time into gym training.
Yeah.
So personally, I make sure I get to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah, just to get those muscles at least not fading away. They don't grow much, but at least they don't fade away, please.
Yeah, exactly. It's very important to keep the engine running. I think
definitely.
It also depends on who we're talking to as well, because I think the vast majority of people I see here freediving, they're not diving to the end of their physical limit.
Yeah.
They're diving to the end of their technical limit. You know, they don't have technical mastery of EQ. They don't have perfect technique. That's what's stopping them, and also the mental game. That's what's stopping them. But it's rare, which is a good thing. It's rare you see people just completely burning themselves out on a dive because they're not weak enough to do the depth. That's rare. So everybody should work out. Everybody should keep fit for sure. That should be part of your life. But I think if you're going to prioritize, we don't have unlimited time. Definitely spend time in the gym, but work more on the technical stuff. Find someone, fix your EQ, fix your technique.
Yeah, well, in the end, even if you're strong enough for the depths that you are doing, having additional strength will still help you with the confidence of your dive.
Yeah.
If you feel stronger in the water, it's just much easier to also be relaxed and enjoy, instead of being afraid of the last 30 meters to even make it to the surface.
Yeah.
So I really recommend working on strengths, and that it helps me a lot for sure.
Yeah. To be honest, I think my motivation for being stronger, for going to the gym, is not so I can handle bigger, deeper dives, but it's more so that I can train more in a shorter period. I can train day after day, not that I'm training every day, but I can fit in more training and recover quicker so that I can then train again. That's what I like about being stronger and fitter. Obviously it makes the dives easier, but it allows me to train more, especially when you get out to like world championships, for example, and you've got 2 weeks, you want to squeeze in as much diving as possible. But if you take 3 days to recover, it's like you're losing out.
Yeah, that's the same thing about like strength and endurance, from my opinion. If you want to survive a long season in a proper form, if your season starts with competitions in May and you want to be in a good shape until October, of course you have to really get into good shape during the winter to survive the whole summer. Because for sure, with a lot of depth training and competition, you will lose some muscle, you will lose some endurance, and it just helps you to make it through a season.
Well, I think that question actually leads us really nicely onto another question from Peter. He's asking about cycling, because I know you have been, I presume you still are, quite a keen cyclist. And he's asking, like, basically what cycling's done for your freediving, and if you think people should consider it. So, tell us about cycling.
Well, yes, I cycle a lot. I love cycling. I do it as much as I can. For me, winter season is cycling season. It's maybe opposed to most cyclists who only go out in the summer, but in the summer I go diving. So usually I really spend a lot of time on the bike in the winter. first of all, it's nice long endurance training and gives me something to actually go outside and survive the long winter without getting depressed sitting in my own four walls all day. So it's something that brings me out. It's maybe also of mental health actually. And it's a really good strength training for my legs. So since I also do like interval training on the bike and really go cycle up really steep mountains, you know, I never get tired on my bifins or monofin dives. My legs never feel tired. Like they're always full of power, and it's a super nice feeling. So yeah, you know, you can gain that from something else as well. You could also, of course, do a lot of interval training in a pool with fins. It would probably also have good benefit. But for that, you first of all need a pool. Probably also need somebody to spot you. So since I don't have a regular body for pool training, my choice is the bike. It's just much easier for me.
Yeah. Do you know what yours? Do you have a consistent measurement of your resting heart rate?
Yes.
What is it?
I check everything with my watch, and well, resting heart rate changes a lot with throughout the season. Depending on how much I train, how much stress I have at work, if I have done a depth training or not. So it could be anything between, I don't know, maybe lowest in the season is around 42-ish, 43-ish, and the highest can be around 55 when I have a cold and train too much. So
those are pretty impressive numbers, because the reason I asked, because I know that cyclists out of most sports have the lowest resting heart rates. Yeah, it's very good for long life.
Yeah, mine hasn't been so low since COVID. I had COVID last August, and my resting heart rate went up by 15 beats after that, and it's still 5 beats higher now than it was before COVID. So I don't think I just got much lazier on my training. I think it just had an effect as well. Wow. So it's something that you also have to take into consideration, that your body can go through a phase where it's just not as easy.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, body vital measurement is something I really want to get into. I'm just at the moment deciding on what device to go for. What are you using there? Is that D5?
I'm using the Garmin Descent.
Ah, okay, yeah. Would you recommend it? Do you like it?
Well, so far it hasn't disappointed me. So it measures my heart rate, resting heartbeat, heart rate variability, quite useful for myself. But I think everybody should know that the numbers are very personal, and also things like it gives something like a body battery. I don't even know how it's defined actually, the body battery. But it's so different for everybody, what is a high and what is a low. So I really recommend don't comparing yourself to others with those values, but they are more useful for yourself to see what is your personal state of training. So am I getting overtrained? Am I tired? Am I getting sick? For example, if my heart rate variability drops really low, I know I'm getting sick the next day. So I really have to stop training and be sure I get all my vitamins. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just looking at which device to go for at the moment. The Garmin's might be a happy medium. I get dive watch and I also get body metrics. So, yeah. But then I was looking at, somebody had a Aura ring, which looked very interesting. But I think the Whoop band, Alexi was wearing one, might be a bit more designed towards athletes. So yeah. I'm not sure.
I have friends who have the Whoop band and they are quite happy with the Aura ring. It's just very expensive, and then you have to have the abo for like every month you pay an extra like 50 euros or something. I don't know how much the price is at the moment, but it's incredibly expensive to use that ring. So unless you get sponsored by them, I probably wouldn't use it.
Yeah. Well, if Aura or Woot are listening, me and Jenny would love to represent your brand.
Well, I have my Garmin watch. I'm really happy with that one.
Okay.
So.
All right. Send it to me then. Don't send it to Jenny. Send it to me.
Yeah, I'll send it to Gary. He'll be happy.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got a few questions that are just general freediving questions, really, and then we'll swap back to more EQ based.
Yeah, EQ is too boring, so let's move on.
Yeah. So let's talk about daily routine. Like, if you were in a competition, you know, I see you down in Sharm a couple of times a year. So you're here. How does your daily routine look like? Diet, warm up, you know.
So you mean like on the comp day itself?
Yeah, let's say through the comp. Yeah, because I think throughout the rest of the year is so broad. It's different time, isn't it? So yeah, when you're actually in the middle of a comp.
Yeah. Well, of course, the day before a competition dive, I just eat and sleep and relax. Sometimes go for a walk or a little swim, but nothing hard. Just make sure I'm in a happy state. I will probably also visualize my dive in the way I want it to be happening. Yeah, and go to bed early, but not too early because then I can't sleep and I'll get mad about it. Yeah. So just I need to be tired enough to sleep. So don't eat too late because you can't sleep on a full stomach. So just very normal things, I would say. And usually I also already stretch the evening before. So that if I have a bad night, I don't have to do so much stretching in the morning. Usually I really don't stretch much in the morning just to wake myself up, but to be honest, you don't gain any flexibility in the morning of a comp dive that you didn't have before. So it can be a nice routine, but I really don't spend too much time on it. I rather sleep a little bit longer.
Yeah, I prefer to try and use the word mobility. So before diving, I'm mobilizing. Yeah. You know, I'm just waking up the body, promoting some blood flow. That's it. But stretching before exercise doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I like my fascia roll as well. So I would roll a bit my legs in the morning or my back. Yeah. This is what I really enjoy. If it helps, I don't know. It helps me. So.
Yeah. I mean, fascia rolling, there's a lot of conflicting evidence about it, but regardless, it feels nice. It makes me feel nice, and I know it
really like the feeling. So it's that is useful. If you like the feeling, do it.
Yeah. Anything.
Then, of course, I have some breakfast in the morning.
That's my question. Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot dive on an empty stomach. I would be in such a bad mood. It's impossible.
I need dive on an empty stomach if the dive was scheduled for 8 a.m. or something.
Well, I actually never did dive at 8 a.m., so I didn't have to make the decision. But I would probably still eat a little something. Yeah.
Yeah. I think. Yeah, because I was training in Dominica for a couple of winters, and I would wake up, 20-second walk down to the beach, and by 7:30 a.m. I would be on the line ready to deep dive. And I was doing into the 90s, very easily on a completely empty stomach. But that's because it's outside my front door. Certainly when I'm in Sharm, I think I see people every competition messing up their eating plan because we dive in the afternoon. And I see at least one person have some horrible dive because they haven't planned their food. So yeah, food's just crucial.
Yeah, but that's a fun thing. Well, so usually I try to eat around something small, like just a few oats with a little bit of nuts or honey, like 2.5 to 3 hours before the dive.
Yeah.
And actually, that routine doesn't change when I'm in Sharm and have to dive in the afternoon. Then I will have a super big breakfast, but I know I will have digested that until 4 o'clock anyway. Yeah. But I would make sure I have a small snack around 2.5 to 3 hours before the dive. My oats. I wouldn't change my routine in that regard.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right, let's go back to an EQ question. This is one from, I'm going to try and say this name, Adam Jersey Road Wall. He was asking about, as the years have gone on and you've got sort of into the 100-meter mark now, did you change the depth of where you're taking the charge, or the amount of packing you're doing? You know, did you change things up at one point?
Yes, I changed a lot, and I keep on changing. So as my abilities progress, of course, I also change the abilities that I use during a dive. So I can make it, if I'm really perfect on my equalization, or almost perfect, I can make it with a charge at 20 to go to 100, head down.
Yeah.
That's no problem, if I do everything perfect. But the thought of having to be perfect on every detail would stress me a lot. So I prefer to do my last charge a little bit deeper to have some spare room for mistakes. And of course, for going maybe potentially beyond 100 meters. So that's also, of course, something I want to keep in mind. And so, of course, I've started to charge a little bit deeper. But in order to be able to charge deeper, well, first of all, you need to improve your charging skills, because you don't want to do a small charge, or you don't want to be overcharging and putting additional stress on your body. But you also need the flexibility to do the charge in greater depths. So this is something you also have to work on. So then it doesn't end with working on equalization skills, but also on physical skills that will feed into your equalization skills. So yeah, there are a lot of things connected, and yeah, I change a little bit around if I feel like I don't need to charge so deep for a dive. I would even take a shallower charge, because it's less stressful to charge in a shallower position. So, you know, in no fins, I would never do a super deep charge. For what? You know, I can frenzel to the depths I'm doing in no fins if I have to. So, yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. I think you should tailor your EQ for the depth you're doing.
Yeah.
How far would a surface charge take you?
Actually, I'm not 100% sure. I just know if I go to I have a 20-meter pool like an hour away from here, so I can make it from the surface to 20 in that pool.
Yeah.
But there it ends, so I don't know how far I could go beyond that.
If your ultimate depth is nudging 100, then 20 is not where your surface charge finishes. No way.
I'm pretty sure I could go deeper, but I cannot tell. I really didn't do it on a line yet. I maybe should, because the pool ends at 20, so in the winter I'm happy with it.
Yeah, this is I should have asked everybody that question, actually, how far your surface charge takes you. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. Awesome. Now, Khaled is asking, I mean, it's going to start a conversation, but it's quite an obvious answer. He's asking, is it more stressful attempting a world record? I think I know the answer.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Is it more stressful when you're attempting a world record dive?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you elaborate?
Yes, of course. Well, of course, you should be mentally prepared so that it's not. But I remember even the announcement of a world record, and you put the world record behind your announcement. That was pretty crazy. So yeah. Let's say the first attempt, it also wasn't successful. So, and I really can say in that moment, it stressed me way too much. Of course, I just had also 2 blackouts just before me that also didn't help with my confidence for that particular dive.
This was down in Sharm, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was in Sean.
Yeah, that was probably when we were just sort of meeting each other for the first few times and stuff.
Yeah,
I remember that day because Alice
yeah.
was diving as well,
Yeah.
and there was some current, wasn't there? It was a
Yeah.
tough day that.
Alice and I were both going for the world record on that day, and we had some current. And actually, Martin was coaching me, and he was also going for that dive on the same day.
Yeah.
So I think it was first Alice going, unfortunately blackout, then Martin going, blackout, and I'm like, okay, here I go. So, and I black out. So maybe in that moment I should have thought a little bit further. Okay, this is maybe not the day to do it, but you know, I had never expected to go for a world record ever. And then I started my depth training of that season in Sharm with bifins, and all of a sudden I'm doing world record in training. I'm like, okay, what's going on? So you're super happy and expecting it to happen in the comp as well. And I just didn't have the thought that it could go wrong. I was super confident it would work, but yeah, then it didn't.
Yeah, it works until it doesn't.
Exactly. So I learned from it, and yeah, with a world record, I will wait for better condition.
Yeah. Great. Okay, Elias, a student of mine, he's asking, how did your warm-ups change as you started to progress with depth? Yeah. So what were you doing for warm-ups years ago, and what are you doing now?
Yeah. So, well, when I started freediving in the first couple of years, I would always do 2 or 3 warm-up dives. It took me a very long time to, just get the right feeling. I think it was just a mental issue, more or less, because you don't need so many warm-up dives. But, you know, as a beginner, you always do a lot of shallow dives. And so I was just used to doing a lot of shallow dives also before my comp dive. And then, of course, as progressing with depth, I changed to doing only 1 warm-up dive, and I still do that. But the reason and the quality of the dives and the time of the dives, they also have changed a lot. Like in the past, I was always doing the warm-up dive to see how long I can comfortably go with my contractions, whatever, and then I would interpret something into that to like make a forecast about my dive, which is completely stupid. Because warm-up can be nice, it cannot be nice, it can be horrible, and you can still have a nice competition dive. So this is why I changed my warm-up dives. I still do one. It's a very shallow hang at around 10 meters. I just hang around. And for me, it's mainly to check how my ears are on the day, if they are sticky or not, if I have to pay attention to one ear more or the other. This is one thing I would usually check. And the other is just enjoy a little bit, go and have a look if there's a current, you know, just getting used to the surrounding, and that's it. So in the past, my hangs would be sometimes 3 minutes and longer, and now I'm usually maximum 2:30 because it's more than enough to just go and have a look. The warm-up dive is not a performance, so it's just something that you do because it makes you calmer, or because you want to check your ears, or you want to check something in your gear, whatever it is. But it's not a performance, so don't put a performance thought into your warm-up.
Yeah, I see people doing like 3.5, 4.5 minute warm-up dives, hangs, and I mean, for me, that's work. You know, you save your energy for the main dive.
Exactly. This is why many people do no warm-ups. You know, most of the new people don't do warm-ups. But I think if you dive all year round, it's easier to do that than when you're like an on and off diver like I am. So I also free dive because I like to spend time in the water, and I like to spend time diving. So I don't want to give away my warm-up dive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a little bit of time just for you as well. You know, we are doing this for fun after all. Yeah. So did you ever try no warm-up diving?
If I do what?
Did you ever try diving with no warm-up?
Yes. Because sometimes if you're diving in lakes or if you're diving where it's cold,
yeah,
you really just don't want to get too cold before you dive. So that's when I tried it. It's totally possible. I also had good dives that way. It's definitely an option if conditions are bad or if my, like, I don't know, transfer boat or whatever is late, so I cannot make a warm-up dive, I will be fine with it.
Yeah, I switched. Like all of last year, I did no warm-up dives. But you know, you have to start from day one when you start training. I even started to mix it in springtime when I was still working a bit teaching. I started to just first dive of the session, I would just do a deep 40 or 50, no warm-up, just to get my mind and body used to it. And then as the season progressed, I did no warm-up dives, no problem. I did my national record, my 112 with no warm-up. All of those dives at Vertical Blue were with no warm-up. But yeah, you're right what you said. You do need to be very well trained for it. You need to be apnea fit, and you need to be well trained in the process of getting in the mental state you need for a deep dive. You have to be able to just switch that on.
Yeah, for me it helps just to get into the mood. You know, I lie on the surface, holding onto a buoy, just float around with my snorkel, looking into the blue. I'm super happy. I do a quick warm-up dive and I get ready, and that's it. So yeah, for me it just makes it easier to get into the right mental mood. But for sure, you can do the same on the dry. It's definitely whatever you prefer.
And then whatever you prefer. And then in August this year, I was competing in Sharm. Have you ever competed in August here?
No, I didn't compete in the summer. No, I had planned to compete, but then it was a bit, it didn't work out. So
yeah. Well, it's very hot, as you'd imagine, August in Egypt. And I got down there for the pre-training, and man, doing a no warm-up dive was not working at all.
Oh, really? Because it was so hot?
It's so hot, unbelievably hot. You just, even just to swim out, you feel, because the water's like 31, and then also you've got air temperature, which is like 40 or more, you know, so it's extremely, it was uncomfortable, and the no warm-up wasn't working, so I switched to doing one, sometimes two hangs, back to what I used to do years ago. And that helped. It still wasn't easy diving in that heat, but it definitely helped. And I kept that with me when I went to Cyprus. So, you know, you've got water that's significantly colder. But I still felt I needed that second warm-up this year. I just didn't feel as mentally prepared. So I stuck with it. But I'm looking forward to going back to no warm-up dives,
I guess the most important part of the warm-up is, if you do it, just don't exhaust yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I explain it to people all the time. Like, what do you need from a warm-up? You need some CO2, which you just get by holding your breath for a certain amount of time, and you need a little bit of pressure. You know, you get that by just going underwater. Those are all the things you need. Anything else is just a bonus. And I understand if for a beginner or intermediate diver that the mental process. It's good mentally to do 1 or 2 or 3 warm-ups, but definitely make them easy, make them shorter, and do less, basically. Yeah, it's a big subject, warm-ups. I think everyone's got their own little ways of doing it, you know. But yeah, like if I am doing a no warm-up dive, I need to spend a lot more time on land, like preparing.
Oh, really?
I need to be a lot more focused and in zone. Whereas if, you know, if I'm going in there to do a couple of warm-ups, I can be chatting on the beach, no problem. And then, you know, I like to stay quite light and funny, and but no warm-up takes a bit of action, you know. Yeah, it takes a bit of focus. Yeah. So I hope you're happy with that, Elias. We answered your question.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. Just trying to pick another question. What would be interesting? Well, Pete wants to know what your guilty pleasures are: music, movies. What do you do? What do you do for fun? You go cycling for fun?
Yeah. That's the good part about cycling. It's fun and training.
Yeah.
Guilty pleasures. Coffee.
Yes.
Definitely coffee. I'm not having it before dives, but I'm always very happy to get my coffee after a dive. And
Yeah.
it's really a big part.
Yeah. Okay, back to EQ. Is there any section of the EQ of the dive, that has significantly given you problems? Was there any real milestones you had to overcome?
Well, I think every year I can produce a new problem and have to produce a new solution. So, I'm not sure which year it was. I think it was 2020, where I really forgot to relax my abdominals after the charge. And it took me forever to understand what my problem was. So yeah, it's just stupidity and lack of awareness in that moment. But well, 2020 maybe was a special year anyway.
Yeah.
So, but I found myself, I was completely puzzled. Of course, I found out at some point, and I felt completely stupid that I forgot to consciously relax in that moment after the charge. But yeah, this is why it's so important to also sometimes write down your dive process and your equalization process and check back if you've done any unconscious changes with this. So yeah, the relaxation of the abdominals. This year, did I have a special problem this year? Well, this year I was focusing a bit more on my head position in the free fall, because sometimes when there's a little current, I start to navigate with my head. I should rather use my body and not like change my neck position, because that can interfere with equalization. But then if I wanted to go towards the line, I would start doing like this, or if I wanted to get away, I would do like this, and that's a really stupid idea to do. So yeah, it's those little mistakes that all of a sudden happen, and you're like, okay, where did this come from? You've never done that before, so why now? But this is why you should always train your awareness. And after every dive, take your time to go through it again and relive it in a way that you understand what have you actually done. You know, I often see people doing a dive, and of course they can be happy first, but then they like start chatting away for minutes and minutes and minutes instead of taking a moment to really process the dive mentally. So yeah, this would maybe also be an advice I would give. Do a dive and analyze your dive right away, yeah, and not start chatting or thinking about coffees.
Yeah, I quite often, when I've got a group of people I'm coaching, when someone comes up from a dive, I'm like, don't say anything, swim over there, spend time inside your head, go through everything that happened.
Definitely.
In 2 minutes time we'll talk. You know, don't tell me now. Go through it, remind yourself, because there's stuff you forget and stuff that you remember, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I do like what you said about your dive log. Obviously that shows that you keep a dive log, which is excellent. Everyone should keep a dive log. But what you were saying about writing down your whole dive, I think that's a hugely important exercise.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, firstly, as a remembering exercise, it will help you remember things. Things will come back that you did or didn't do. And also, like you say, next season, when you've had 3 months away from diving or more, you can read through
or 8 months.
Or 8 months, yeah. You can read through that step by step, make it as detailed as possible, and you can just remind yourself.
Yeah.
And you can read that to yourself on those long winter nights in front of the fire when you're dreaming of the Red Sea, you know.
Yeah, and when you've written it down, you can go and check it with the coach. So what is the coach supposed to work with when you can't tell them what you're doing? The coach is usually at the surface and sees the first 20 and last 20 meters of your dive. So for the rest of it, what's he going to say? He doesn't see it. He can't look into yourself. He cannot tell what you're doing. So it's important that you know what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. So dive log is essential. I think it's a really important part of training.
Yeah. Maybe I'm especially obsessed with my logs. I have like this gigantic Excel file where I don't only, I of course log every single one of my dives and write down important things that happened, but I actually log every training throughout the year and how I feel on which day. So this way I can just track how my winter training helps me or what doesn't work in my winter training, how many kilometers of cycling in the cold I can endure before I get sick, you know, those kind of things. It's super useful. So training log and dive log, if you're serious about becoming an athlete, well, do it.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah, cool. Are you being coached by anyone at the moment or this season? Do you plan? Are you working?
Well, I have different coaches for different issues. So I've been mostly working with Martin Zayats in the last years. And yeah, great guy.
Yeah, Martin's awesome. Yeah, I really like Martin because I saw Martin around years and years ago, and he was one of the guys I really looked up to, and he was very intimidating. But meeting him down at Sharm, he's just such a nice guy, and his daughter Jean is really lovely as well. Yeah,
and I'm always impressed how deep he can dive without training for it. Yeah. It's not fair.
Yeah, so like at the start of the season, how long would it take you to progress back up into the 90s, close to 100? How long would that take?
Well, usually the first week I rather stay shallowish. So in the first week I would probably maximum go to 70-ish.
Yeah.
And in the second week I usually already progress to the 90.
Yeah, fantastic. But I guess your pre-season before coming out to the dive location would involve, are you doing a lot more stretching then, pre-season?
Oh, well, I always stretch. I never stop stretching.
Okay.
So,
wonderful.
like, of course, I do more bridge stretching before the depth season. At the moment, the bridge comes out maybe once a week because I'm lazy. After the season and I want to be lazy.
Yeah.
But for sure, after Christmas, the bridge comes out and I make sure I'm prepared for the season.
Yeah. So you enjoy the bridge?
Yeah, well, it's my only way to prepare for depth. You know, I don't have access to depth here, so I have to do something. Yeah. And the bridge is so far the best tool I found for preparing myself for deep dives.
Are you doing mostly like positive stretching, like inhaled, or are you doing exhale stretching, or is it a mix?
I do all of it. Yeah. Different arm positions, different positions of the back on the thing, different levels of inhale, including breath holds, excluding breath holds, whatever. So
yeah, as much as possible. Yeah. There's a lot that can be done. I like to use a small inflatable Pilates ball. It's just so portable. Those bridges are quite big to move around. But yeah, the Pilates balls are nice and
it's easier.
Oh man, we've riled through those questions, and I don't really have any more. It's been fantastic. We've been talking for an hour.
Already?
Okay. Yeah.
Almost. We had some technical issues first, so now it's not an hour yet.
Okay. Well, we can throw in one more. Let's throw in another one. Right. Oh yeah. Do you have any? This is from Raybot90. Do you have any special like foods or diet? What's the magic pill that's going to get everyone to 100? But is there anything that is an essential thing in your diet?
Let's say a diet will not get you to 100.
Yeah.
So the diet will not be your problem unless you're super allergic to cheeses or milk or whatever, and you keep drinking milk. Yeah. Then you have a problem. But if you eat a healthy diet.
Yeah. I don't find anything
it will not keep you from doing 100. Yeah.
I don't find dairy or milk affects my EQ at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
I think a few people don't know. Well, I remember Will Trubridge. He loves cheese, and he will eat cheese like it's an apple, and he says it doesn't affect his EQ at all. So I guess we're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love cheese. I eat cheese, so that's fine. Yeah, just make sure you eat what your body needs. Don't have a one-sided diet. I don't know. There once were people who thought like a complete carnivore diet would be great, so they were just eating liver and meat all day, nothing else. Sometimes mushrooms, I believe. That's a thought I find quite disgusting, and I'm not sure it really works. So just have a really well mixed diet, and you'll be
That's
fine.
one thing. That's one thing with freediving is you need fuel. There's obviously there's a certain depth and length of diet that you could do fasted or something, but actually once you start going over that, you need fuel. And you need power to get yourself up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also maybe at this point it's maybe important to talk about the difference between men and women. Because for men, the carb loading works. You know, men can eat a huge portion of rice the evening before and fast in the morning before they dive, and they will be fine. They will still have energy stores. For women, it's different because we will just, if we eat like a huge pile of rice in the evening, it will be transferred, like whatever is in excess will be transferred into fat right away, and we're still hungry the next morning and have no energy availability. Maybe it's different from person to person a little bit, but in general, the female metabolism works differently. So I believe for most men, it could probably actually work not to eat anything in the morning. For women, from my experience and from the studies that I read, I would probably not recommend it. But of course, there can be people who can go really well with it. If you train that, probably your body will adjust to it. So if you're used to not eating in the morning and you're fine with that, don't change it. But I assume if you're used to eating in the morning, and especially as a woman, don't change it.
And even the night before, the deepest I ever had to rescue someone from was 18, 20 meters because they'd fasted the night before and in the morning. And there was just no fuel. It was like an 80-meter dive and there was no fuel to get them up. So it was deep blackout.
Yeah. Well, I'm really just also in a bad mood if I don't have any carbs available in my body, so I have to eat something in the morning. The mood, of course, is decisive for my dive as well. So.
Hangry. Do you have a word for that in German when you're hungry and angry?
Well, no, we would actually also say hangry.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
Well, we just stole it from the English language. So. In German, it doesn't work that well.
All right. Well, on that note, angry, we can wrap up. Thank you so much for joining me. That was really interesting.
Thank you.
There's so much more. I had so many more notes about stuff to ask.
I think we need to repeat because there are a million topics I want to talk about.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to do a season 2 of this definitely. So because it's been such a fun experience. And yeah, thank you so much. If where can people find out about you? I mean, you're pretty active on your Instagram. I guess everyone watching this is going to follow Jennifer. So if you're not following her, follow her now. And do you have plans for next year, like comps and stuff?
I actually haven't planned my next season yet. So usually I don't want to think about it too much before January. Just to put my mind on something else for now. Because competition schedule for now, look into the calendars on the websites of either CIMAS or AIDA. There's not much in it yet. So
true.
So I'm not planning yet. I'll start doing that in January.
Cool. Okay. Well, hopefully I will see you at some comps next year. I'm not sure what I'm doing either, but I'll see you somewhere next year. Thank you again. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you everybody for watching. I'll have this up on YouTube as soon as I can. And next week we have Stefan Randy. All the Germans.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got Stefan Randig joining me for a call. So yeah, put in your questions. That one will be an interesting one. Yeah, we can learn a lot from Stefan. Okay?
Yeah, so give him a hug from me, please. And thank you so much for inviting me.
All right. Bye-bye. See you later, Jenny.
See you.
Bye.